Good morning and welcome to A Yarn Live. I'm your host Ryan Ashton and we are at the Te Atatū RSA with my special guest Bob, who I'll introduce in a moment. But just to frame up this morning's session, it's ANZAC Day coming up on Saturday. And you might buy a poppy, you might go to the commemoration, you might have some idea of what your family, your grandparents did and were involved, but you might not know, what does the RSA do? What happens with the efforts that go into it? So I wanted to share this story and actually have Bob share the story. And the inspiration behind that is that my family were looked after by the RSA. So my grandfather, my mother's father passed away back in a time when, it was a different time, and the family lawyer was overseas, and it was a 6-week boat trip. There was no plane flights, and it happened to be 3 months away. So my family had no money until the estate was settled, and the RSA stepped in and paid for everything for 3 months. So that's the kind of support that I know the RSA give, and that's why I give as much as I can each year, and wanted to do this session to give Bob the opportunity to share with you the real detail of what the RSA do. So first of all, thank you very much, Bob, for being here.
My pleasure.
And the first question is, could you please introduce yourself so everyone knows who Bob Pettis is?
Hi. Thanks, Ryan. My name's Bob Pettis, born and bred in Wanganui. Left Wanganui in 1966 to join the Royal New Zealand Navy and served in the Navy for 21 years. Initially joined as a seaman and then retired in 1987 as a lieutenant commander, head of physical education, and then went out into the civilian world. I've been a member of Te Atatū RSA since 1986 and still a member today, obviously. I had a brief period away for 5 years where my wife and I purchased a hotel north of Auckland and enjoyed that experience, but always been associated with the RSA movement and Te Atatū RSA.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for giving us that rundown. And I thought, why don't we start with what is ANZAC Day? If you could give everyone a bit of an overview, because there'll be a mixed understanding out there. So why don't we start with that as we go through our session?
Basically, ANZAC Day is where we commemorate those that made the ultimate sacrifice with the landings in Gallipoli. And after that, World War I, the RSA organisation was set up, and initially to look after the welfare of those veterans that fought in those World War I campaigns. And that certainly carried on after World War II. And of course, our contemporary veterans who have been in the variety of theatres since then. And it's also an opportunity to acknowledge what their contribution has been when they served the country. Now, to get funds to support our veterans, we obviously have a collection on Poppy Day where we solicit donations for a poppy to remember those that made the ultimate sacrifice.
That's a brilliant rundown. Thank you very much. And I did a little bit of research, and Gallipoli was the main theatre, and ANZAC Cove is where the New Zealand and the ANZACs came and fought. And I think there was 17,000 soldiers apparently, and approximately 2,500 gave the ultimate sacrifice, fought their way up to Chunuk Bair, which was the high point, which is obviously the high ground. And then, as we know, well, those that do know, everyone retreated out of Gallipoli. So it was an extremely they were up against it, I think would be the short way of putting it.
Certainly. It's and it's the day where we remember we've had just in excess of 30,000 personnel who have been killed in action since World War I.
Wow,
it's horrendous.
It is.
The number.
So now let's look at what is the RSA. We've got the logo on the screen just below, and people see the RSA. But tell us a bit more about the RSA.
Yes, our main priority, of course, is support for veterans. And we do this through a variety of different activities. But the main one is looking after their welfare, not only for the veterans, but for their dependents and their families as well, which is really important. Here at Te Atatū RSA, we get our donations in from ANZAC Day, and we're part of 15 RSAs in the Auckland region who are a member of the Ramfilly Poppy Trust, which is a sub-trust of the Ramfilly Trust in Auckland, which was initially set up by Lord Ramfilly after the Boer War to look after veterans. Now, the 15 RSAs in Auckland who are part of that Poppy Trust, they donate 90% of the poppy money they collected to the trust, which then has a group of a grants committee, and the grants committee then distribute those funds back to the members of those RSAs. And while it's not limited to while we do support those applications from the RSAs, we also support veterans that are not members of RSAs as well. The Poppy Foundation was set up in 2017, and since inception, 1,400,000 has been returned to 6,800 veterans and dependents in the Auckland region, which is a massive amount. Last year we gave out $150,000 to 86 applicants. We meet every 2 months, and we are the grants committee are a part of the Ramfilly Trust in Auckland. The Ramfilly Trust, to assist with the setting up of the organisation, has put in since inception $590,000. And what this Ramfilly Trust does is looks after those veterans who are in the smaller RSAs in the area who don't raise sufficient funds to look after their veterans and dependents. It's an avenue that's available for veterans who actually fall through the cracks in our modern system. With Veterans Affairs, they certainly look after veterans who have operational service in a recognised theatre, but there are several in the armed forces who have not been in operational theatres and don't qualify for support from Veterans Affairs or other organisations. So it's the Ramfilly Trust, certainly it was a great initiative to set up this, and we know that our poppy money that we are collecting is going back to the right people in the right areas. Looking ahead, it would be great if we could expand firstly to northern the Waikato region, and also longer term looking at bringing in the Northland region as well. It's a proven method of getting to those that actually need support, and regardless of age, it's improving their quality of life, and that's what it's all about.
That is fantastic. And that, I think, is the big question about any charity that anyone has, is how much actually goes back to the people that it's designed to help. And 90% is a phenomenally high number, and it's so impressive. And each piece of information you shared was, again, another layer of the amount of good that you do. So it's really impressive, and that's exactly why we wanted to share this story. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. And also in the West Auckland region, we have a West Auckland RSA Homes for the Elderly Trust. I'm actually chairman of that trust. 12 RSAs in West Auckland purchased a number of units around the turn of the century, and they are still being occupied. They're available for veterans or their widows. And in Te Atatū South, we have 33 units. In Helensville, we have 13 units. And 2 years ago, we purchased 2 more homes on Swanson Road, adjacent to the Swanson RSA. And those 2 sites will be developed to take another 10 units each. So that's one area that's supporting those in need. We do have an emergency housing unit at Te Atatū South. In the past 6 months, we've put 2 veterans into this emergency housing who were sleeping in cars, and one was from Rotorua and the other one was from Timaru. So we do look after those that need support. Although the units are in the Auckland region, West Auckland, we do take applications from any service person in need and needs subsidised accommodation in the Auckland region, but they can come from any part of New Zealand. Helensville, the last 2 tenants in there, one came from Dunedin and one came from Invercargill. The units are suitable for married couples, and they're about 70 square metres. And the rent we charge at the moment is $210 a week. And that's another area that we actually look after and support those in need.
That's phenomenal. I think the RSA accommodation in Te Atatū South is right next door to where I live. I walk through from Cron Ave towards Taiaroa School, and the RSA has a sign on it. And for the 12, 13 years I've lived in the area, and I walk my dog to the school, I pop in and wander around, and anyone who's there who gives me a little wave, I chop in and say hello. And now I just realised you're talking about the very place. So it's pretty cool. And the amount of support that you've just described is phenomenal. And this is like lifting the hood on what does the RSA do. People buy their poppy, they go to the big event, and they probably don't realise, there's all these things that maybe don't connect because there's a focus on, like I did before, the stats of those who fought and those who passed away, the things that are said at the commemoration. But right here today, what's happening now, there were 2 people living in cars that are now living in your accommodation. And they were people that gave their time and effort to help support this country. And I think it's absolutely beautiful what you're doing. So, yeah. And that sounds like a lot of work. And I want to come back to, you mentioned 21 years in Lieutenant Commander. Was that the last rank you held?
That was the last rank I had in the Navy.
Now,
yeah.
I don't know anything about rank, and it's not about the competition, but that sounds reasonably achieved. Is that a fair comment, and sort of reflects the effort that you're putting in these days as the president and the chair of these different trusts?
Yeah, it's certainly, the time in the military certainly gave me a lot of skills, and certainly people management skills, and I think, going in and purchasing a hotel where I had no experience whatsoever in hospitality, that was a steep learning curve, but had the ability to make decisions and sort things out. As I said, I joined as a junior seaman and went through the ranks and became a chief petty officer, and then I was commissioned to an officer.
Oh, really?
So I went really from the bottom up to a little bit higher as an officer.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. My understanding, my uncle was in the army, and he went in as a infantryman. And my understanding was you either went in as an infantryman and you could go up to a certain level, or you started as an officer and went from there up. But you couldn't transfer from the infantry to the officer. But maybe a little bit different in the Navy, or you're living proof of the opportunity?
Yes, if you achieve the required standards, then there's opportunities for promotion.
Oh, there are. Okay.
From the ranks up to the officer.
Okay.
And I think that's tri-service wise.
Okay.
Army, Navy, and Air Force at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant to know. And these are all things that people may be wondering about, and that's why I keep asking these little extra questions. Now, if we start looking at what's coming up this weekend, And what's happening here at the Te Atatū RSA? What have you got going on that you're
So,
welcome to come in and be part of?
At the RSA, I mean, my day starts, I get up at quarter to 4 in the morning.
You're kidding me.
And I'm part of the group that's meeting at the Auckland Museum for our dawn service at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so we have to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning, mix and mingle, and then we have the service start at 6 o'clock. This year I've been invited to do the ode at the dawn service.
Congratulations.
So
what an honour. Yeah.
I'll be doing the ode at the dawn service, and after that finishes around 7 o'clock, it'll be back to Te Atatū RSA. We open at 8 o'clock, have breakfast, and then 10 o'clock we've got our own service over at...
Yeah, hold that up for everyone to see. So that's the brochure, and if you open it up,
the brochure for our and the hymns and the service there. So we'll be having our service here, which I'll MC and run that. And we're extremely fortunate this year to have a couple of special guests. One is Sir Jerry Mataparai, the former Governor-General of New Zealand and New Zealand High Commissioner to London. Sir Jerry will be attending. We've also got the head of New Zealand Veterans Services, Alex Brunt, is going to attend and be at our service as well, and along with all the other local dignitaries with our local boards. We normally get about 1,000 people at our service in the community centre. Then they'll come over back to the RSA after the service, and then our women's section, in conjunction with the caterer, provide a free lunch for everyone who's in the RSA. And that's normally around 400 people, which is a tremendous effort by our women's section, who of course are an integral part of our organisation here at Te Atatū RSA. And then we have band and entertainment starts at 2 o'clock, and that normally goes through till about 6 o'clock at night.
What a huge day, and so many parts that you'll be managing. That's very impressive. And by contrast, I typically go to the Waikumete Cemetery dawn service, and that usually is it. I live on the other side of Te Atatū South, but I think I'll come in, and I don't know if we need to register. Do we need to register, or can we just turn up?
No, it's open to all the public.
Okay.
All RSAs and all, we have a special licence through the council, and it's an open door policy.
Oh, brilliant. And the image that I used on the cover that you might have seen, if you saw that, with all the crosses, it's literally out that door across the road and in the park, and those crosses. So if you could tell everyone about what that image is about and what those crosses have represent.
Yeah, we've got 112 crosses over in our park opposite the RSA, and that's our fields of remembrance, and randomly selected those that passed away during times of war, and extremely popular with the area. We've been doing this for about 8 years now, and not once have we had any damage done to the crosses, and it's a good focal point for the community getting into the ANZAC Day commemorations. Probably the other point here that I'd like to make is that I've talked about the Ramfleet Trust, and I've talked about the Homes Trust, which I chair both groups, but also I'd like to mention the amount of work that goes on in most RSAs which is unrecognised, and that's the support for their members and associate members in the welfare and support area. Doctors' visits, home visits, care, and just helping them out individually. It's so important, and it's not only we have our welfare set up here at Te Atatū, but it's the support that the other groups within our organisation give. The women's section are an important part of our RSA. They run community groups. They have community groups come in here, children for children's discos, children's Christmas parties. For Easter, they organised a Easter egg hunt in 3 of our parks in Te Atatū.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the heavy weather came through and it had to be cancelled, but they'd put out Easter eggs in the parks, and then that was from 11 till 1, and then it was back to the RSA, and there was a children's disco on from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock. But I stress the importance, perhaps, over the years our RSA has changed. It was 95% ex-service persons. Here at Te Atatū today, we have 1,100 members. 1,000 of our members are associate members and 100 are returned in service. So over the years we've changed, and it's so important to get the community involved. And we see ourselves as a community hub, a meeting point that's available for community groups, and of course support for a lot of our local community organisations. And we do that through gaming machines, and we put 37% of our profits go back to community groups, local schools, sports clubs, organisations, and that really assists us as well. We've struggled a bit since COVID, but our membership has gone up over 400 in that period, and we're looking to have 1,500 members by Christmas, and I think we'll achieve that. We're getting an average of 40 new members a month, and but that's the importance of being involved with the community.
Absolutely. We'll come back to the community in 1 second because it's a big discussion point. First of all, how much is a membership?
Membership here is $40.
Okay, you got another new member. And the chap that I brought, well, that came with me, and we were playing pool here, which is how we met, Jack Doolan, you are now officially signed up too. We came here to play pool and have a bit of a chat, and Bob came over and said hello to the 2 new people in the room, and we had a bit of a yarn, and this is what brought us here today. And not that we'll spin the camera around, but there's a restaurant over to the left. There's a huge space here that we're sitting in front of this, with a bar and then a range of pool tables, etc. So it's a great place to come, and you could have a game of pool, you could have a game of darts, you could have a meal. And trust me, I had a dinner, and I thought I was back in one of my the restaurants that I used to run. You talk about hospital, I used to run restaurants, and I was blown away by the plating and the quality of the food. I thought it was going to be pub food. That's more like fine dining food. So, but at RSA community prices. So there's every reason to come to this place and have a yarn to someone, because you're going to be welcomed, and to be part of the community, which is 90% of, 100% of the people here, but 90% are return service people. So don't think it's just for return service people. Come and be part of the community.
Yeah, that's a great comment, Ryan, because there's unfortunately a misconception out there that to get into an RSA, it's all older people, and you need to have been in the services. Not true. We can only survive with the support from our civilian population immediately in our area. And please go in and use the RSAs as part of your community hub.
And on that note, I dressed up like I am today. I put on my suit jacket, and I actually had a t-shirt on, which was another ANZAC t-shirt. But I thought I might have even needed to wear a collar to come here. And when I walked in, people were just wearing normal clothes, hoodies, etc. during the week. So that's another good thing to let people know, so they don't have any ambiguity around, do I need to dress up? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Come down and see Bob.
Yeah, tidy dress is our standard, and you just need to change with the times. Originally, to get in here, you had to put your name up on a notice board and had to be there for 2 weeks, and there was a joining fee. No, we've done away with joining fees, and we've done away, if you want to sign up to the RSA, you just come in, sign the application form, and you're given a membership card immediately. And it's interesting to note over the last 10 years, our average age of members 10 years ago was 65. The average age of our membership now is 55. So it's heading in the right direction, and we're going to be around here for quite a few years to come.
Yeah. And I still feel like I'm 18, but I'm actually turning 50 this year. So I still bring the average down. But doesn't matter how old you are, good place to come and be. And you coming back, you talked about Easter egg hunts, the kids disco, a few other attributes. And when I turned up, there was actually a pool comp on that night, so we had to play pool before it started to use the table. What else? Is there anything else like pool comps or any other regular things that go on that might be of interest?
So on Monday nights we have women's competition darts. Ooh. Tuesday night is men's competition darts. We have 3 dart clubs within our organisation here. We've got City of Sale darts, we've got Cosmos darts, we've got social darts. We'd probably have about 180 dart players in the club. We've got 80 pool players in their pool section. We've got a snooker section as well. We've got a golf section. It's just adding a variety of activities that keep the people coming in, and that's what it's all about. If you don't have bums on seats and don't run your club as a business, then you're going to fail, unfortunately. It's sad to hear of different RSAs that are closing down or merging. Mount Maunganui, a few weeks ago, have decided to sell their land and buildings. And we've got a merger underway in Auckland at the moment between Avondale and New Lynn to keep it going. But individually, there are a lot of clubs out there struggling, and unfortunately, they will close down. But in your own area, you've just got to get the foot traffic in through the door. You can have a large membership, but you need a large portion of that membership to be active members with regular attendance at your club.
And just on that note, there is the RSA Bowls Club. I know it's a little bit different, but a friend of mine went along and saw that the field was in disrepair and this and that, and it was generally a small group of older people that were still active in the bowls. He got involved with the committee. He got a few other people involved in the committee, and they have now helped make it a real community area, like you've just talked about this one being, and it's the local cafe. It's got a kids area. It's got all, so they've managed to revive it in some ways. So if you're out there and you don't, you have an RSA near you, pop in and say good day. Don't push yourself upon them. I'm not suggesting that, but potentially like the guys did at the RSA Bowls Club, it's about being part of it and supporting it, and maybe there's something that can be good for your community as a result that you had walked past because you thought it was the RSA only for service people. And we're just sort of coming up on time, and you've got a really busy time, so I don't want to take too much more of time. But what's your final message? What's the last thing you'd like to close out on and give to everybody?
Ryan, being ANZAC Day on Saturday, it would be great if as many people as possible could get along to a service, whether it's dawn service or a midday service. If you can't get along to a service, if you could just pause for a moment and remember those that gave their lives to make our country a better place to live. And it's also important, just a memory for all our contemporaries, those that have served. Let's acknowledge the contribution that they have made to our country as well. Enjoy your Easter Day and your ANZAC Day, sorry. And
that's right, we were talking about Easter before and ANZAC Day.
Enjoy your ANZAC Day and just spare a thought for those that made the ultimate sacrifice.
Well, Bob, thank you so much for your
Thanks
time.
very much, Ryan.
And thank you for everything that you do for this RSA, the wider, the trusts and the people. It's been phenomenal hearing about what you and the team obviously do. So we'll say ka kite anō, and thank you very much for your service.
Thanks very much, Ryan. Thanks very much.